We have been covering mental health challenges that teens face, and we're just seeing how many teens are affected by this crisis.
Yeah, according to a startling CDC report, 42% of high schoolers have said that they feel persistently sad or hopeless. Our Morning News Now anchor Savannah Sellers is covering this issue in a new NBC News Now special called Teens Under Pressure, Mental Health and Social Media. That is airing tonight, and Morning News Now anchor Savannah Sellers joins us now on set.
You guys are the Morning News Now anchors right now.
It is good to have you back and on such an important topic. What did you find in your reporting?
Yeah, it's so good to see you guys. Thank you so much, and so good to see you all at home. So there is so much going on with teens right now. Honestly, I think it's just harder to grow up now. If you think about social media, it's just this constant access to information. A lot of it's hurtful. It's body image issues. It's your friends hanging out without you. I heard FOMO a lot in reporting this as an issue that teens really say does impact their mental health. And then, of course, there are just the normal stresses that we all know about, the pandemic, climate change, and a big thing for a lot of these teens, they told me they actually think about every day, is the possibility of a school shooting. They go to school worried about that, and they have a really hard time with it. All of that sort of is culminating in that number that you said, 42% of teens saying that they feel persistently hopeless. Here's what's kind of really scary, though. Girls are faring much worse. 57% of girls say that same number there, persistent feelings of sadness, of hopelessness. And then the really concerning thing there is that sexual violence is spiking. So young girls are also dealing with that. They're dealing with this sort of misogynistic content that's online that they say impacts the boys that they interact with all the time. It's just a confluence of a lot of really concerning factors.
There's so many things, and things that, like, as a kid, I certainly didn't have to deal with it all, because there was a lot of parts of my life where I could disconnect, where I had no idea what my friends were doing, and that was probably for the best.
No question.
What is it teens are telling you, especially when it comes to what might be a solution or some possible ways to improve things?
Yeah, really important question. Of course, when we should be talking about, we're talking about what's wrong. One of the biggest things is what we all know, talking about it. They want to feel connected to people. The other really important thing is they want a trusted adult in their life. So if you're an adult listening to this, if you know a teen, please try to connect with them and listen to what they said just about what can be done in their schools.
I feel like if there were more school counselors, they'd be able to focus on like a group of students rather than like having so many students to look after. And then same thing with the social workers in schools.
We certainly have overworked teachers. And when we don't have that opportunity to build that bond, then that chance to see that, oh, that student hasn't been really acting their normal self, their usual self, there's not really that opportunity to just notice a child, I want to say, because there's just so much noise around.
The really encouraging thing that I did hear in that conversation is that for a couple of those students that do have a strong relationship with their school counselor, they said that it has made all the difference in the world. There's this program that is being unveiled right now. Money is going directly into schools from the Department of Education, from the Biden administration, that is going to put resources actually physically within the walls of schools, so it's not something that has to be sought out after school or by parents. Hopefully that goes to making more counselors available to students, because, of course, that's the big problem within our schools.
I imagine any parent watching this and processing it is saying, okay, but there's so much going on. How on earth do we make sure that our kids are okay? How do we help them? And you actually spoke to the education secretary and the Surgeon General. Did they have any advice on how to deal with these growing problems?
Yeah, so they point to the CDC in terms of advice as far as what should be done, because within this report that had those really startling stats, there were also some things that you can do. Trusted adult, as we've been talking about, is one of the big ones. Resources in schools, which this new funding, $188 million, is going to be helpful for. But they really were super strong about social media and the concern, especially the Surgeon General. He said that he is not sure when he will let his own kids get social media. It certainly will not be until at least some years into high school, which means at least 14, even though social media is available technically when you're 13 or older is when you can sign up for things like Snapchat. He said it has to go beyond warnings, though, because I asked, look, I mean, you're the Surgeon General. You've issued a warning, because he has done that. Can it go beyond that? Will it go beyond that? And he said, you know what, it's got to, because if you think about it, it's these companies. You're matching the brain of a child up against a company whose whole job and whose whole algorithm is to make you addicted. Listen to a little bit more of what he had to say.
Well, I think we have to go beyond warnings. I think the data has been telling us more and more clearly that there are significant numbers of kids who are harmed by their use of social media. I think what we need are safety standards and requirements around data transparency, and those actually have to be enforced. We need age-based regulations that also need to be enforced.
There actually is a lot of this conversation going on Capitol Hill right now. It remains to be seen what will come out of that, but we will, of course, keep reporting on it.
All right, Savannah, so glad you're taking a deep dive into this. Thank you so much. You can catch Teens Under Pressure, Mental Health and Social Media tonight at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. That is right here on NBC News Now.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.